What's going on, boys? It is day number 30 of reading through the book of Deuteronomy. Today is the last day of August. So before we start, I just want to say I hope that everybody has had a great month. I know for a lot of us, we've probably started a new year with school, or maybe a new job, or just a new opportunity in general. So I just hope that everybody has had a good month, and I pray that from tomorrow on into the outcome of September, that it is a good month for you. I know for me, I'm looking forward to what I can do this year in school, and really looking forward to this coming weekend. I've got the Blue Ridge Relay coming up, so we're just really looking forward to that. So before we start, I just want to say, if you're looking back through this month and there's things you're not been satisfied with, well, why don't you take that and set it as a new goal for this month, and every day find a way to tackle that through small steps of progress, and see what better you can do this coming month. So for today, we're looking at two topics. I think that overall, this passage is very well useful if you were looking to have the question answered of, why is it that I feel so far from God, even though I've said I've been saved, but yet I still continue to fall into sin. I still, get angry. I still say things I shouldn't say. I still fall into lust. I still get jealous. I still curse people. I still judge people. Like, how is it that I can, how is it that God can still do all these things to me, or these things through me? And the first thing that I really think kind of stood out to me was verse 4. And it says, even if you have been banished to the most distant land under the heavens, from there the Lord your God will gather you and will bring you back. So I think when he's talking about here, banished land, I think in today's world, most people who are not followers of God, when you make a mistake or you say things you shouldn't say or this and that, people will doubt you so much to make you think that you are all alone, that, you are on this journey by yourself, and that there's no one to save you, no one to help you, which in turn puts you in a place that makes you feel that you are in the middle of nowhere and there's no one coming. So you're thinking, well, I'm just this terrible person. My life is not valuable. But I can assure you that's not true. If people tell you that, you make a mistake and people are saying these things to you, this and that, like God doesn't love you, this and that, I promise you that's not true. God doesn't love you less just because, you make a mistake like that. He knows that our lives are going to be full of ups and downs. He knows that. He knows we're not perfect. He knows that there's nothing that we can do to make our lives perfect on this earth, because if we were perfect, then what would be the point of us being human? And so for me, it's this, that, no one is ever too far from God. Anyone has the ability to be redeemed. So, you think of these people in the world today, maybe whether it's a celebrity or just maybe someone that's close to you or someone that you work with, and you think, you're looking at their lifestyle and you're thinking, well, man, like there's no way they can be saved. Like, look at all these things they're doing, these places they're going, the things they're saying, the things they're buying, the things they're doing every day. Nah, there's no way. But I believe that's not true. Because as we've talked about before, all it takes is one encounter with God, and your life can be dramatically changed. This morning at our church service, our pastor was talking about, we were reading through the book of Acts about the Apostle Paul. And one of the things that he mentioned that I kind of wanted to, reintegrate into this was how, you're being watched. And it's not in like a creepy way, but like a, obviously we know God's watching us, but other people watch us. Other people watch our lifestyles. They watch us for who we are, to kind of get the idea of, okay, well, that's the type of person he or she is. And so the question you have to ask is like, well, am I valuable? Am I doing things right? What do people think of me? Because you can ask so many different people and you're going to get a different answer from everybody. And that's where you have to say, okay, well, how can I make it to where when people answer me this question, they can say that he is someone who is devoted, he is God-loving, he is a godly man, and he is someone who is disciplined, someone who loves and likes to have fun, and not in the way that the world intends on it being. So this brings me down to verses 8 and 9, which kind of summarizes what happens after we have turned back to God. And Moses really words this very well to the Israelites. He says, you will again obey the Lord your God and follow his commands I am giving you today. Then the Lord your God will make you the most prosperous in all the work of your hands and in the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock, and the crops of your land. The Lord will again delight in you and make you prosperous, just as he delighted in your ancestors. So again, we know that no one is ever too far from God. So when we begin to run back to God, we know that God is loving. He's caring like a father was when he greets his son. His arms are wide open, willing to give you this big bear hug. And the biggest takeaway from this is that, truly obeying leads to increased production and achieving. And when I say the word production, I think of, you are producing more connections to people and new ways that you do things in life, and you're achieving goals. There's these goals that you've set before in your past that you weren't able to achieve, whereas now you're starting to see these things actually come into play. And I think that's what's so great about God, is that God knows that you like setting goals. He's probably thrilled that you are setting these goals, whether it's to lose weight or to, grow a certain part, or start your own business or whatever it is. God's probably thrilled about that. He is thrilled that you were willing to take that big step in your life to say, you know what? I want to do this. There's a problem. I want to fix it. There's something going on. I want to know what's going on. I want to be part of this. I think that God is thrilled about that. And then there's other things that I think God's like, hey, I'm glad that you're excited about it. He's like, but you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. You got to train. Like some athletes who are saying, oh man, I'm ready to go out there and be the best football player ever. But yet, I've only trained a few days this year. It's like, really? Are you? And so that's where you have to say, okay, what have I been building myself up to? What have I been working up towards for so long? And is it worth it? Is it going to be worth it in the end? And so this kind of ties in with the second part of this chapter where it talks about the offer of life or death. Now, I want to talk about, there's a passage, and there's a section at the end that talks about choosing life, but I want to focus on the opposite there, death. Most of us view death as this time that will come in our lives, because it will. There's no stopping it. Every day it's like a timer. I've had this thought in my head, like every time we breathe, it just resets the timer towards death. It sounds kind of weird, but, just bear with me here. Death is something that is going to happen in our lives. We don't know when it happens, and there's nothing we can do about it because we're mortal, and that's meant to happen. Our bodies are temporary. Our physical bodies are temporary, and building up our spirit is what we are meant to do. And so I want to read this last verse and a half to kind of close this out. And it's the finishing up verse 19 and then reading verse 20. It says, now choose life so that you and your children may live, so that you may love the Lord your God and listen to his voice and hold fast to him. For the Lord is your life, and he will give you many years in the land he swore to give your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So God does not forget his promises. He says, I remember what I promised to them. He says, I can do great things. He's like, I saw where you were. It's like, put your faith in me, and you won't have to worry about this army that you have to face or these troubles that you have to worry about. I wrote down, not necessarily a note from this, but a kind of a statement. And it says, only through God can you live your life to the fullest. So some people may say, well, that's not true. Like, you can just, people think that, the old term, money buys you happiness. You can just have a bunch of money and be fine. No, because money runs out. Money's temporary. Money is temporary, just like our bodies. Only through God can you live your life to the fullest. And sometimes that means you're going to have to go through some low points. Sometimes it means you're going to have to face people in your life that you don't want to have to face. You're going to have to talk to people that you never thought you would talk to before. And yeah, there are going to be days that are better than others. There's going to be some days where you're like, man, I feel like a 10. I feel like I could do this. And then there's other days where you're like, man, I don't even want to get out of my bed because I don't want to be seen by the world. I don't want the world to see what kind of person I am because I'm afraid they're going to make fun of me. But just know that God sees you every day, all the time. And he still loves you, no matter what you've done. God doesn't look at you for who you are, who you were yesterday. He looks at you as his son or his daughter that he created in his image. And when we begin to realize that, we start to say, why am I turning from God? Why would I ever turn from him? Because every time I did in the past, I ended up in a very terrible spot. I was questioning him. I was in a bad position. So I don't want to do that again. I need to remove things in my life that are like this. And so that's where we'll end off today. We are, like I said, we're nearing the end of this series. So we're going to be talking about kind of the finale for Moses over the next couple of chapters. And then we will finish up here in a couple of days. So I'm going to go to read today's daily prayer. We are on August 31st. It's crazy to think that we have gotten through another month. We are now approaching the 9th month of the year, September. I feel like this year just started. So the title today is called Without Sin. And we're looking in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15, which says, "We do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize our weaknesses, but one who is in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin." Jesus, I love that you understand what it means to be human. You showed how me how to live, how you sought to suffer, and how to please the Father. I would like for you to move in me the same way so that my life reflects yours. It will help me to remain faithful until your return. It will assist me as you share with others. And as you have compassion on me, help me to also be kind to others. I want to love people as you did. You love so well because you sympathize with us. Help me to have compassion on those around me. So Jesus is a living example that it is possible to live a life that is worthy. And Jesus, while he lived a perfect life, he also was human. He was human, 100% human. He faced things all the time. He was tempted. He faced the ways of this world. He talked to people that were rich and were poor. Jesus didn't just focus on one set group of people. He talked to everybody. Anybody and everybody that he could. And I don't believe that God says, hey, you need to go talk to all 8 billion people on the planet. No. I believe he says, I want you to go talk to a particular person that is close to you. And this doesn't have to be a family member or a friend. This can be someone that you work with or someone that you just happen to pass in the street. Because you never know the impact you can have on someone's life. You never know. You never know what someone's going through until they talk to you. You never know. So that's where we end off today. I hope you guys, again, have had a great month of August. And I hope that you guys have a great start to tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, boys.